Hi! So, it's been a while since I made a video, but recently I've been getting a lot of questions from my friends about how I learned to speak different languages. In case you didn't know, I can speak like 6 languages conversationally. I would not say I'm perfect. I learned just from talking to people and, just not studying or any formal training, at least most of them. 2 of them I went to school for. I learned Spanish and French when I was in elementary school and high school. And then I took a little bit of side classes in ASL in middle school, and then I learned Chinese and Korean on my own after school. So I wanted to share some of the ways I learned and how I studied. I'm by no means a professional. I wouldn't say I'm fluent in any of these languages, but I wanted to be honest with my level and how I got here. So I'll say a little something in each language. I'm kind of a little bit of a perfectionist, so I wanted to correct everything I wrote down and make sure it was perfect, but I think that would be cheating a little bit, because when I do actually speak to people who know these languages, I don't have time to prepare in advance what I'm going to say. I just say what's on my mind. So, the first is French. Bonjour, je m'appelle Kira. J'ai 19 ans. J'ai étudié le français pour 3 ans dans l'école, mais maintenant je ne parle pas très bien, juste un peu pour les voyages ou parler simplement avec les gens français. La segunda lenguaje que yo aprendió es español. Yo estudio español para 8 años en la escuela. Yo estoy muy feliz porque aquí en California hay muchas personas que hablan español. So yo entiendo que las personas hablan, y también yo puedo hablar poquitas cosas. 안녕하세요. 제 이름은 키라입니다. 한국말 조금 할 수 있어요. 지금은 한국말 편하게 말할 수 없어요. 하지만 열심히 공부할 거예요. 캘리포니아에서는 많이 한국 사람들이 있어요. 그래서 연습 opportunities 많이 있어요. 그래서 많이 선생님 같은 친구 있어요. 你好，我叫季拉，鸡的腿的鸡，拉球的拉。我在学习中文，我学习中文2年，现在我可以说中文。我学习中文因为我很喜欢中国人和中国，我最喜欢北方菜，还有北京话。我想住在中国。And then that's it. Oh, and ASL. So it's just little things I picked up, and I can do like a little bit of greetings in a few other languages, but nothing worth mentioning special. So like I mentioned before, with French and Spanish, that was something I studied in school. I live in California, so we had a dual immersion school for Spanish. So basically that means is that from kindergarten onward, they teach you Spanish first and then English. So understanding Spanish comes very naturally to me, but because I learned it in a setting where I was very young and we weren't really focusing on grammar but just speaking, even now I have a hard time with conjugation and the feminine and masculine. If you speak Spanish and you heard what I just said, you'll understand that I made a lot of mistakes. But basically the whole goal of the school was to get you to start speaking Spanish comfortably. So I feel like if anyone's learning Spanish and they want to be able to speak like a local, my number one tip would just be to not be afraid to make mistakes and say things, because especially if they can't speak English, they're going to appreciate anything that you say. And they'll correct you. It's not going to be embarrassing. You know, if they're learning another language, they know how it is. So not being embarrassed to put yourself out there and say everything you know, even if you have to pepper in English words. And I did take it at school, so we had tests and stuff like that. But to be honest, at home, I'm not much of a studier. I find it very difficult to sit down and read books or study, and I don't feel like I retain a lot. So with the 2 languages that I did learn on my own outside of school, French, Spanish, and ASL was in school, and then Chinese and Korean I did by myself at home. My biggest tips for home study would be movies and TV shows. I think it's very important to watch those things, not only because it doesn't feel like study when you're watching them, but also because if you get home and you're tired and you don't feel like studying, watching a movie is like a sneaky way to get study in. And also you're watching comfortable conversation between native speakers. So you pick up a lot faster on words that are commonly used, and you pick up on the emotions that they're conveying when they say certain words. I know it happens to me all the time. There will be a word that I don't know, but someone will say it, and it'll trigger an emotion in me because I've seen the emotion it was connected with in a show. So let's say someone says a word, and then I'm like, oh, that, for some reason, that seems like a happy word or an angry word. And then I'll look back to maybe a show I watched or a movie, and that word is used in a sentence where someone was really angry or really happy. So maybe before you start memorizing exactly what those vocabulary words mean, you at least get the feeling of what someone's trying to convey in a conversation. I also really like YouTube. There's a lot of really good learning videos, and they make them fun and entertaining. For Chinese, I like Yo-Yo Chinese. She's really good at doing conversational Chinese and how to order and like little mnemonic devices. And then I also like Talk to Me in Korean if you're trying to learn Korean. That channel is really good. And they have a website as well with a lot of free videos and worksheets if you'd like to print those out as well. I also recently got into listening to podcasts. Once my level got a little bit higher and I could understand without subtitles, I started to listen to podcasts. So if I'm driving in the car, I'll put on like a Chinese or a Korean podcast, and that really helps just to listen to conversation and trying to break down what they're saying, and then going back over it later and figuring out the words that you didn't understand. Curiosity is the best way to learn new vocabulary words. And then one thing that I did for a while is writing a diary. So just doing little diary entries every day in that language, just what you know, and mixing in English with it. So you can write the beginning in whatever language you're learning, and then whatever words you don't know, fill in with English. And over time you'll realize that it's usually the same English words that you're writing over and over again, so that you can see clearly what vocabulary words you don't know and that you use often. So you can focus on those specific words and look them up. And once you look them up, you won't lose them because it's something you use all the time. And my last and final tip, which I think is the most important, is practicing with locals. Whether it just be your local convenience store or a restaurant, or if you have a big community of a different culture in your area, really making an effort to talk to them. A lot of people are really enthusiastic when you're learning about their language or their culture, so they'll be really supportive and help you with that. And I know for me, if I go to maybe a Chinese market or restaurant, I'm like, oh, you know, we're in America, it'd be weird. Like if I try and order in Chinese, they'll think I'm obnoxious or whatever. But every time I've done it, I've always gotten a really amazing response, and they're really excited, and I get to practice as well. So you just need to get over the mental block and put your all into it. So I totally forgot my 8th and final tip. I don't know how I forgot it because it's actually one of the most important. Aside from TV shows and movies, I'd say my second biggest tip on learning a language that has helped me so much is music. I think music helps a lot because you're associating vocabulary and words not only with an image but with a tune. And just like mnemonic devices or anything else, to help a word or a phrase stick in our minds the best is to put it to a tune or link it to something we already know. So with music, especially if you're looking up the lyrics ahead of time so you know what they're saying at certain points of the song, when you hear them say it in that language and you've looked up the lyrics beforehand and you know what they're going to say, that really helps to stick phrases in a different language in your heart and mind. So just final last tip. So those are my tips. I'm sure they're things that you've heard before, but that's how I personally do it, and I've been really enjoying it, and I have a lot more to learn. So I hope you enjoyed this.